Welcome back in, you guys, to One Piece chapter 1089. This chapter was amazing because we finally get to see our 10 favorite characters after so long. We finally get to see the 9 Vice Admirals and Rob Lucci all this week. So, jokes aside, let's get into the chapter. First thing we have is the cover page, where we see another reader-requested one with Sanji asking a cow to pass on a love letter to Nami. Personally, I'm kind of at the point where whenever I see a cover page like this, I look at it and I'm like, okay, this is either a cool and fun reader-requested one, or it could be Oda hiding a secret message in here, right? If we really wanted to get nitty-gritty with the conspiracy theories, maybe we could look at the note that the cow is passing Nami as a sign that they might go to the stars. Because the cow has a note that says, "The stars outside shine almost as beautifully as you. Nami-san, would you like to come watch them with me?" And hey, Egghead being under siege, there's nowhere to go. Why not go to the stars? But like I said, that's probably just me looking for meaning in things that don't have any. So on to the chapter now. We go back to our hometown of Fuchsia Village and we see everybody's favorite character, Whoopslap, finally making a reappearance. He learns the news that Garp has gone missing on Hachinosu, but he's not worried. He says, yo, this guy is a living legend. Garp is that guy. We do not have to worry about him. But the minute a baby starts laughing, he's like, wait, you there, you stop it. This isn't funny though. Even though I think Garp is okay, this is still a bad situation. So even Whoopslap kind of realizes that, but it turns out the person that was laughing was actually Makino's baby. Whenever Makino's baby comes back into the story, it brings up the age-old question of, who is the father? Is it Shanks? Or is it just a random villager that impregnated Makino? We have no clue. I've actually seen a couple of people say that this baby has red hair, so it's obviously Shanks' kid, but that's actually not the case. This baby has green hair, just like Makino, so it's still just really hard to tell. The truth of the matter is, there's nothing really there to prove or deny if Shanks is the dad or not. The only thing we have is a really strange SBS where Oda says, that man is the father, and we also have a connection through cover pages where we see Makino and her baby finally making an appearance, and Makino's wearing a wedding ring, and then we see Shanks, supposedly, at a wedding. So there might be some connection there, but I think it's too soon to really tell. But I do like that theory a lot. I think Shanks having a legitimate kid with a villager in Fuchsia Village would be nice, considering he is a celestial dragon, showing that celestial dragons can get down and dirty with the common folk. So anyways, back to the baby. The baby is crying, and funny enough, the only person that could get the baby to stop crying and start laughing again is Luffy, the, reincarnation of Joy Boy. So I love that even through the newspaper, he has that effect on people. So then we cut over to Dadan and the Mountain Bandits, and we learn that they have also read the newspaper about Garp and Luffy. And yes, Dadan is crying and she can't really do anything about it, right? She wants to help Luffy and Garp, but she's kind of stuck to the mountain. She can't really go to Hachinosu, beat Blackbeard. She can't go to Egghead Island, defeat Kizaru. She is powerless. All she can do is read the newspaper. But you know who's not powerless though? The Straw Hat Grand Fleet and the Navy. The Navy is also probably reading the newspaper about Garp, and I'm really wondering if they're crafting some plan behind the scenes. And the same goes for the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. If they read the newspaper that Luffy is under siege at Egghead Island, I would assume they would want to go out and help them. And I'll talk more about that later as well, because I do have some points I want to make. So with that being said, we go down to the next page and we see that earthquakes and tidal waves are hitting every country around the world. East blue, west blue, south blue, it doesn't discriminate. It's hitting everywhere. And not just earthquakes, rising waters, giant holes, and this is all because of what took place at the kingdom, formerly known as Leloucia. I say that, but Leloucia could technically still be there. There are some theories that Leloucia is at the bottom of the hole, but we're not too sure yet. Either way, the weapon, the Mother Flame, destroyed Leloucia, made a giant hole, and now it's causing catastrophic events around the world. And it's really interesting because when we look at this, we're like, wait, we've seen giant holes before, right, boys? We saw the giant hole at Enies Lobby, and it looks just like this. It's a hole, it has a little waterfall. There's something here. did the Mother Flame, or at least an older version of the Mother Flame, also cause the hole at Enies lobby? That is the golden question of the day. Personally, I think it did, but I don't think it happened recently. There are some theories that God's Valley actually used to be there until, boom, Mother Flame explosion and God's Valley disappeared. I don't think that's the case, simply because the timeline doesn't exactly match up. Oimo and Kashi had been guarding Enies lobby for about 50 plus years. God's Valley, on the other hand, happened about 40 years ago. So that really wouldn't make too much sense. And another reason it wouldn't make sense, if this hole at Enies lobby was made post-Void Century, then we would have felt earthquakes. But when you go up to this chapter in the second or third page, it says that no earthquake in recorded history matched the one we felt that day. So with that being the case, my opinion is that the giant hole at Enies lobby was created during the Void Century. Of course, you could make the argument that maybe the hole at Enies lobby didn't have any earthquakes that followed it, but I'm gonna say it did, simply because Emu, this chapter, didn't really react negatively to the earthquake. Emu literally just stood there and was like, ah yes, earthquake. And then later in this chapter, Emu even wanted more of the Mother Flame. So Emu considers what happened today and at Lelucia as somewhat of a success. To me, the rising water levels are the most fascinating part about all of this, because that could be attributed to a lot of things like Aqua Laguna, Water 7 and how it's, constantly being submerged year after year. And then there's also Long Ring Longland, which has a weird situation going on with their tides. I really do feel like by the end of the story, every weird weather phenomena that we've witnessed thus far will somehow be explained, and I feel like this is Oda's first step towards that. Oh yeah, one more thing about the rising water levels, but last night somebody commented this and it really opened my eyes. But they said, hey, every time they use the Mother Flame, water levels rise by at least 1 meter. So if they keep on using it time and time again, a lot of countries are going to sink. And then it would be kind of not poetic, that's like the wrong word, but it's crazy to think that the only safe place in the entire world from the Mother Flame's after effects would be the Red Line. It would be the Holy Land. If they just use the Mother Flame on every single island, Marie Joie would be the only safe place. The Celestial Dragons live so high up that they're safe from all of the dangers of the water. Also, if you look to the left of the panel where we see Logtown suffering from the earthquake, you can actually see somebody who kind of looks like Chocolate from the fake Straw Hats. One thing that I did find a little bit curious though is that while we were going through the earthquake and water panels, we actually go to Kamabaka Queendom and we see Ivankov reacting to the rising water. But we don't see Dragon, right? We don't see Dragon talking about the earthquakes or the rising water. We don't see Sabo either. So it really makes me wonder, are they still on that island, or do you think they read the newspaper about Luffy and about
Garp
and they actually set off to help them? I hope so. I mean, like Sabo going to Luffy, Dragon going to Garp. I feel like it makes sense, but I don't want to reach quite yet, but I do find it kind of interesting that Oda only showed us Ivankov. So now we cut back to Egghead Island after what seems to be 3 months of being away from it, and we see that the marine ships have finally arrived. 100 battleships of all sizes, 20 great warships, and we got 9 vice admirals at the helm, along with Kizaru and Saint Saturn, a force to be reckoned with. Honestly, I'm really impressed that Oda decided to introduce 6 new vice admirals in this one chapter. He had so many vice admirals already to choose from, but Oda said, no, I'm gonna cook up some brand new designs. And if you count Doll as a new one, boom, 7 brand new vice admirals. The only one we knew of beforehand was Doberman and Kadar, who was formerly a rear admiral, but it looks like he jumped up to vice admiral post time skip, so major shoutouts to Kadar as well. You know what I just realized is a little bit weird? It's the fact that whenever we met a group of 9 individuals, or a number that is close to the Straw Hats, sometimes we'll look at them and say, oh, look, we got Zoro's matchup, Sanji's matchup, blah, 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 right? Like, we start lining them up. We do that with the Blackbeard Pirates, we do that with the Toby Roppo, you know, the Beast Pirates, Big Mom Pirates, whatever. We do that all the time. But for some reason, I look at these 9 Vice Admirals, and as much as I love these guys, I can't imagine any one of them 1v1ing a Straw Hat. And yeah, it could be a power scaling thing, it could be the fact that we have no real backstory or names to these guys, but it just feels strange, right? They kind of feel like fodder-esque fights. And that is why I want to introduce you guys to the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, because if they were to show up at any point in the story and fight some high-ranking official, I feel like now's the time. Having the Straw Hat Grand Fleet show up and fight these dudes, I feel like that would be pretty dang solid. But yeah, Kizaru is coming to kill Vegapunk, and I kind of feel bad for him in a way. I wonder if he's even remorseful, right? At least for Aokiji. Aokiji felt remorse when he had to fight Garp. Will Kizaru feel remorse when he fights Sentomaru or Vegapunk? I have no clue, because he's just like, hey, I am a cog in the machine. I'm just doing my job. You guys committed the most heinous crime out there by researching the Void Century. I can't vouch for you guys on this one. So to me at least, it's really strange, and I don't know how Kizaru is gonna play all this out. If he has a chance, will he let Vegapunk and Sentomaru go? Or will he actually just cold-heartedly do his job and eliminate people who call him uncle, right? I don't know, and I would love to hear what you guys have to think about that. But also, I want to remind you guys what Kizaru's sense of justice is. It is unclear justice. So there is a chance he might not even know the answer right now either. So we then cut over and we see Saint Glizzy Gobbler Garcia, and he wants his presence to be unknown. He doesn't want anybody to announce him just yet. And I would assume that is simply because he wants to take control of the Seraphim, and to do that, the Seraphim have to be out to play. If the Straw Hats know that Saint Garcia's out here, then they're gonna hide the Seraphim. They're not gonna let them see this man. So yes, he wants to catch them off guard, but, you know, given how the chapter ends, I'm not too sure if that's really going to play out anymore. We go on, and he says, hey, not just on Egghead Island though, but things are happening off of it, because a researcher ship actually departed a while ago, and we have been tracking their movements. And Saint Saturn does not waste any time. He says, yo, eliminate them, go kill them, get rid of them, they might know something. Which brings me back to the Blackbeard ships that we saw back in chapter 1079. So, the Marines actually surrounded Egghead Island. And since they're surrounding the entire island, you would imagine that they would have spotted Blackbeard's ship. They would have reported it saying, hey, Mr. Garcia, there's a Blackbeard ship here. Kizaru, there's a Blackbeard ship here. PX3, Model 3, Sentomaru. They would know that Blackbeard's here, or somebody from his crew is here. But where are they? I think that the Blackbeard Pirates were actually after the researchers, because what if they do know something? And even if they won't talk about what they know, they have Pudding. What if Pudding is able to extract the memory out of the researchers? That could be a possibility. And I mean, that would be the only way to explain where the Blackbeard ship currently is. And not to mention, when the researchers departed Egghead Island, it was shortly after that we saw the Blackbeard pirate ship. So maybe they were just trying to intercept them. They weren't actually trying to get on the island. But, you know, obviously that's just my guess on it. That's the only way I can explain where the ship might have gone, unless they just sunk the logs or something. But yeah, I would love to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think about the Blackbeard ship? Is it on Egghead Island? Is it after the researchers? Why have the Marines not spotted it? I would love to know what you guys think here. But also, if the Blackbeard ship is here, just like Jay Garcia says, the security dome is at 100%. Nobody can get in or out. So even if Lafitte or Devon are indeed here, they're at the bottom floor. They're just as stuck as the Marines. The final thing that Doberman reports is that Jewelry Bonney is also present on Egghead. And Saturn has a really interesting reaction. And of course, OP Scans TCB, they translated this a little bit differently, so I will wait for the Viz to see what they have to say. But Saint Saturn says, Kuma's daughter. Well, we no longer have any use for her. Given that she is just a little girl, you can leave her be. And I was like, wait, little girl? She's 22, 24, what are you talking about? So it's either Jay Garcia sees her as really young because he's really old, or Bonney's age is a lie and she's actually a lot younger and she aged herself up with the devil fruit. I'm not too sure, it could go either way, but also it does make me wonder how Bonney and the Gorosei have a connection. And of course, it could be with Kuma, right? They were trying to get Kuma under their control, so boom, you capture Bonney and you have her under your thumb so that Kuma is also under your thumb. And now that Kuma's gone, you don't need Bonney anymore. I feel like that's the most logical explanation, but I have seen some theories out there that say that Bonney's devil fruits might have been used on some of the celestial dragons and or Gorosei. So there's also that route as well, because let's be real here. Jay Garcia wants to execute everybody on this island. Straw Hats, Vegapunk, researchers, nobody is safe. Except for Bonney. He says, Bonney, well, you can just leave her be. So there's something there. So the next event that happens is that York ends up calling the Gorosei. Kizaru has a little Saboti callback because he doesn't know what a black transponder snail is, but thanks to the advice of a random marine soldier, he uses it properly. So we get the call and York says, hey, this is York speaking. You guys are so rude. Why are you trying to kill me? I'm the one who told y'all about Stella's betrayal. The Gorosei give their very obvious reasoning as to why they're trying to kill her, saying, hey, you're Vegapunk. You're just one of his satellites. Of course we're gonna eliminate you. You're no different. But York ends up clapping back at that sentiment and brings the Gorosei to their senses. And they're like, you know what? You're kinda right. But also, the Mother Flame. Let's change the topics, right? Forget the Void Sentry. That Mother Flame, it's awesome. Could you, York, replicate more of that? And York says, oh, will you look at that? So you do want something from me. I am glad I sent it. Boom, we have confirmation that York is the one who sent the Gorosei the Mother Flame. Vegapunk had no intentions of turning the Mother Flame into a weapon. And it does seem like it is just an actual energy source. If anything, this reminds me of nuclear energy, where it's actually very great for society, but it can also be used to create a crazy, crazy bomb. If the nuclear tie-in wasn't direct enough, Oda even uses the kanji for fusion reactor while talking about the Mother Flame's power station. So there's also that. So York ends up negotiating with the Gorosei, saying, hey, make sure that I'm safe, my laboratory is safe, and also make me a celestial dragon. The Gorosei end up agreeing to all of those, but that is when York throws a curveball and says, oh yeah, one last thing. One small thing I need from you guys. I need y'all to save me because Straw Hat Luffy's gonna kill me. And boom, we have it. We got the double page spread of the boys back in town. The Gorosei, Saturn, Kizaru are all shocked by the situation. And most notably, Saint Saturn and Kizaru are the most shocked. They're like, wait, what the hell? What is going on over there? So it looks like they can't wait any longer. Even though Egghead is under siege, it looks like Kizaru and Saturn might have to speed up their mission a little bit if they want to obtain the Mother Flame. Because if Luffy executes York, I mean, obviously he won't, right? Like, Luffy's not gonna, like, stab York in the throat. But with the threat of that being the case, Kizaru and Saturn are gonna have to make a move fast. I'm really glad Oda decided to gloss over the Seraphim fights and the York fight, because let's be real, Luffy wasn't struggling, Lucci wasn't struggling, Zoro, nobody was struggling against these guys. Minus Usopp and Frankie, which, you know, that's, you know, they're not the monster trio. You know, to be fair, I love those guys, they're just not Luffy. But Luffy and the rest of them, they could mop the floor with them. York is no challenge. Any member of the Straw Hat could probably take down York. She doesn't have any supernatural abilities. She is just a big woman. She's a big woman with a big gun. That is all she is. So I'm glad we didn't spend like 10 or so chapters going through Egghead Island trying to figure out what happened. It's nice that we fast forwarded so much. But also, with that being the case, there are some things that I'm now questioning. One, what happened to Kuma's flashback? Because Bonney obviously went through all of it because she has forgiven Vegapunk. She is eating food next to him. Whereas beforehand, Bonney couldn't go 2 seconds without trying to kill him. The next thing I'm wondering about is the Seraphims. Where are they? They're not in this shot, so they must be out and about somewhere. And I would assume they're with the other missing characters because Robin isn't here, Stussy isn't here, Kaku isn't here, and Atlas isn't here. And Atlas is like one of the last surviving satellites alongside Lilith. Lilith also isn't here either. Lilith was turned to stone, but Usopp and Frankie were also turned to stone, and here they are, unthawed. So that must mean that Lilith is also walking around somewhere. And I'm just like, wait, where are those guys? Everybody's in one room. Where are they? Why would they leave here? Maybe they're out there looking for the ancient robot. Maybe Robin wants to study whatever poneglyph research they have. But yeah, there are some questions here. I know some people are saying that maybe the Blackbeard pirates have kidnapped Robin, but I don't think that's the case. If Robin was in trouble, Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro would not be chilling. They have good observation hockey, and they would know if Robin is in a pickle. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that all of those characters that I just mentioned are A-okay, but they're just on a side mission doing God knows what. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think they're outside doing? And also, elephant in the room, my favorite character, Rob Lucci is here. I was joking, kind of joking about the Vice Admirals, but I am a huge Rob Lucci fan, and he is chilling in this room. My man is chilling at the Straw Hat Feast. I mean, you know, usually whenever the Straw Hats are eating, you know, they're with friends. They're amongst allies. Lucci's here. Lucci is here. Nobody's paying him any attention. They're acting like he always shows up or something. I don't know. And here's the thing. The man isn't even handcuffed. The Seraphim are dealt with. We got the Seraphim back under our control because Usopp, who was frozen, is unthawed. So S-Snake is with us. We don't need Lucci's help anymore, but he's not handcuffed. So it's like, yo, like, is he like a unofficial Nakama? What is he doing? You know, the world government wants to help York, but Lucci's chilling watching this go down. I don't know, man. And here's the thing. When Saturn, Kizaru, and the Vice Admirals show up, does Lucci flip to being a bad guy again? Or does he help the Straw Hats leave this island and maybe he abandons his job? I don't know. There's a lot here and I love the mystery, I guess. So now, on to the comments from the previous video. The first one we have says, I was thinking that the crew would purposefully blow up Egghead. And hey, I think that makes sense, right? Luffy and the others allowed York to make this phone call, probably to have York send those guys into a frenzy, right? Now that York is asking for help, Kizaru, Saturn, the Vice Admirals, they're gonna have to rush up here. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they're gonna have to rush up to the Labo phase. So maybe that is what Luffy and the crew wants. They want them to come up there, and then the Straw Hats will leave, and maybe they do blow up Egghead Island, because there is a nuclear reactor there, right? Blow up the mother flame, giant explosion. Maybe that is where we're heading. The next comment says, Katarina Devon may have infiltrated the group already. I like this. I am a huge fan that Katarina Devon and Lafitte are the ones here on Egghead, simply because they're the only two Blackbeard pirates that have been MIA in the current events. But I don't think Devon is here quite yet, simply because the dome is still up. It looks like once the dome is up at 100%, nobody can really get in there, and that's why it's currently a siege. If Kizaru and Saturn haven't made any moves until, you know, next chapter, I would be shocked if Katarina Devon was able to get here before that, if that makes sense. The next comment says, I think Kuma's memories would basically be a recording on what life's like in Marie Joie, and Bonney will tell Luffy everything she saw, and he will get pissed that people aren't free, get used as slaves, and treated like dogs. And I like this, and I've always been questioning how Luffy and the world government will actually fight each other, or why they would fight each other. Because right now, you know, even going to this chapter, Luffy doesn't want to fight Kizaru. Luffy doesn't want to fight Saturn, the Vice Admirals, the Navy ships. Luffy's main goal is to escape. He says, hey, we're gonna take York, we're gonna use her as a shield. That is Luffy's mindset. Luffy going to Marie's Raw and fighting them doesn't make sense right now, but maybe this is what starts it. Maybe Bonney does tell him that there's a lot of slavery over there and Luffy does want to free them. There's a lot there, and I really like this insight. The next comment says, the Sunny gets her upgrade. There's no other way for her to escape 100 Navy ships, an admiral, 9 vice admirals, Gorosei, and the clones they control. I hope Vegapunk gives Frankie or the Sunny a devil fruit or another, and that'll be a sick upgrade. And I 100% agree. I think the Sunny will get an upgrade, and that's how they will get off of this island. And the thing with that too is that if we go back to Frankie's bounty poster, it is of the Sunny Go. So it's like, wait, like Oda is foreshadowing something with the Sunny. So the Sunny getting a devil fruit or some upgrade, it's pretty much in the cards at this point. The next one we have says, what an amazing chapter. Straw Hats mean business now. I hope Nami and Usopp get an upgrade. Maybe we will see the crew fight the Vice Admirals and defeat them. That will show how strong the crew is, since we already know that Luffy and the Monster Trio are strong. You know what's funny about the Vice Admirals? The Vice Admirals, obviously bounties do not equal power level, but Vice Admirals are potentially worth 1 billion berries according to Cross Guild. So if we go back to the chapter where we first learned about Cross Guild bounties, we saw one guy that had a crown for a bounty, which we now know to be 1 billion. We don't know who this character is. He's not an admiral. He's not a world government official. So there's just a high chance he's a vice admiral. So 1 billion might be the base level of everybody we see here at Egghead Island, which is kind of insane. I think inflation hit them hard, personally, but hey, 9 people potentially worth 1 billion each. That would be a very insane feat for the Straw Hat crew. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of the Vice Admirals getting a fight, but considering how they didn't even get introduction panels or like names, for example, I don't think we're gonna get crazy 1v1 fights or anything. I think they're simply gonna be here to amp up the stakes of the arc. But yes, next comment says, a cow waiter reminds me of the Amegalian major cow. There might be something to that if it's a reference. That's scary. That is actually the scariest thing I've looked up in a hot minute. But hey, thank you guys so much for watching up until this point of the video. You guys are the freaking best. Please consider liking, commenting, and subbing down below. It would really mean a lot. And thank you so much to the Patreon members and channel members here on the side. You guys are the freaking best, and I will catch you guys later. Signing out.